My name is Tommy, and I'm from Fast Eddie's Racing, and I'm here to talk about the reverse head engine that we've created inside our minivan. There's been a lot of questions and misinformation going around on the internet, and people have asked how we've done a few things, and I've decided to replace the head gasket. And while I've got the engine apart, I'm going to make a video and show you guys how things have been put together. We've actually made our engine to mimic the old Super Touring engines in the British series back in the mid to late 90s. And despite what people have said on the internet, what actually happened was the cylinder heads on those cars were reversed, not the entire engine. The rules did not allow the engines to be reversed, but the cylinder heads were allowed to be, which is how they came up with the idea. The way that is done by having the cams inside the engine, if you look at a regular camshaft on a Honda, the locator ring is right here where my finger is, and that is how the cams will fit in the cylinder head this way. What we did is we machined it off and we replaced it over on this side of the camshaft. That allows the camshaft to fit inside the head entirely in reverse, which is why when people looked at the engine and couldn't figure out if we had just reversed the valve cover or if we reversed the cylinder head, that was because the sprockets were still on the correct side of the engine even with the cylinder head flipped around. As you can see, we turned it down a little bit on the end to use a smaller seal right here, this little rubber seal. This is our oil seal, which is what goes inside here. We did that so we wouldn't have to cut down and remove aluminum from the factory cylinder head. The camshaft being made out of steel is obviously the stronger piece, which was the better candidate for removing material. If you come over here and look at our valve cover, you'll see that we had to machine off the entire cam cover. That way it would clear all the stuff on the other side of the head, like where the engine positioning module would be, or the cam angle sensor. And this is what gives it the funny look, because with the cylinder head on there backwards, everybody sees that the VTEC and everything is upside down. Now, to quell any rumors about why we've done this, we just wanted to see if we could do it. There was no real horsepower gain from flipping the heads. Even the originators who did this back in the 90s, which for Honda would have been Neil Brown Engineering, they did it so they could move the engine all the way back against the firewall and still maintain a 13-inch intake runner without the runners poking through the firewall and staring at the driver. For us, it was more of an exercise in efficiency, along with wanting to see if we could do it, because we want to run cold air through the front of the van and then run exhaust out the back, which makes perfect sense. It was done with stock specs, all stock valve diameter, compression, stock cam profiles, because we wanted to see if it would work first. So, in other words, our H22 runs like a very well-balanced H22 with throttle body intake system and a nice header. We balanced them knife edge, the crank, and everything inside has been remachined and micro-polished with new bearings and new seals. So basically runs like a stock H22 with bolt-on modifications. The original Neil Brown engines ran with 330 horsepower. Ours, like I said, runs like a stock one. We'll experiment later on with some more high compression stuff and possibly bring in a few other people on board, and we'll talk more about it later. And we're also going to work in conjunction with another company called Insane Shafts and another company called Arat Racing Motorsports. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in the next episode of Fast Eddie's Racing. Thank you for staying tuned.